Hi everyone, I want to talk a little bit about Hellforge Ember farming and how to get as many as possible of them, because I get this question literally every single day from a lot of people. So I want to give a few tips and maybe explain a little bit how this works. So you cannot target farm Hellforge Embers. Like almost every other item in the game, they are a random drop. And this is also a specific case that you can't craft, you can't gamble them, you only have to find them, similar to the Ramadani's gifts here. And we do know that the drop rate of Embers is several times higher than the gifts. So it appears it's going to be something like a 5-to-1 ratio or so. So you get roughly 5 times more Embers than gifts. And this kind of suits my experience so far. So I don't have many right now, but I have used a lot of Embers this season so far. I have augmented, I think, 11 different builds, and also my followers a little bit. So if we say something like 10 augments per build, because there's a few overlapping items and non-ancients, this would be 30 embers per build. And this would mean something like 330 more embers just from augments, plus all the gems that I actually kept. So you see I have 20 shards here, and I have a bunch more in other stash tabs, just for safekeeping, those that I actually want to use for certain builds. So yeah, we have something like 30 or so shards lying around. That's another 100 embers. So yeah, it seems to be around times 4 times 5 of the number of gifts that you're getting. So with that, we can average it out to roughly 3.5 to 4 Hellforge embers per hour. And I haven't been trying to go really fast necessarily. I have done quite fast speedruns, especially early in the season, to gear up with my first character and get going with my monk and do the 150 solo inner and stuff like that. But for the most time, my speedruns were actually rather slow, so I've been mostly aiming for 3-minute runs instead of very fast runs, 1.5, 2 minutes. So obviously I get much less loot if I only do 15 to 20 runs an hour instead of 30 runs an hour that I can do with certain speed builds. It seems to me that the Hellforge Embers drop roughly once every 5 GRs or so. Sometimes you can get multiple. I think my highest record so far was 4 drops in one rift. So you can get a lot sometimes, and then obviously you get a streak of nothing once in a while. So that happens, but the average is something like once every 5, and you actually stack them up quite quickly. So the bottom line is, you play the game, you get Hellforge Embers, it's that simple, but obviously there are a few things that you can do to improve your Ember income. Namely, you can farm as fast as possible, and beyond GR90, which is the so-called loot cap, you don't get any more items from killing the Rift Guardian in the Great Rifts. So this is typically the level that you are shooting for, and you can optimize your setup to go really fast at GR90, or maybe slightly higher if you don't actually lose any time. If your build is strong enough to maybe blast 100 in the same time because you one-shot everything anyway, then do that instead. Obviously that's free bonus XP and a bit more blood shards and stuff. But for the most part, GR90 is the target here that you want to shoot for. I made a little example calculation here of how much XP we're getting from this. So obviously this is not really great compared to speed farming 115 or 120 or whatever some of the better builds do when you go higher and maybe a bit slower. But you can still get something like 2 trillion or even more with pools, 2.5 trillion XP per hour if you do this very fast and very efficiently. Obviously this assumes a 1-minute average time, which is quite hard to achieve with some classes, but it can be doable if you are very quick, and then also very low downtime. Realistically, this might be something like maybe 125 and maybe 30 seconds. So you see, it's not really that great in terms of XP. So you really give up your Paragon gains, but you get a lot of loot. In fact, you get so much loot that it's actually possible to farm on average 1 primal item per hour with this strategy. So you can get something like 400 plus items per hour, because each Greater Rift is roughly 13 items or so. So if you go at this pace, you need roughly, let's say, 2 minutes per run with the completion and 30 seconds downtime, and you are really fast at sorting out your loot. You can do 30 runs an hour, and 30 runs an hour times 13 is 390 items. So the boss usually drops around 11 items, and then you get another around 2 items from gambling, and this puts you basically right at this around 400 items per hour, and the primal chance is 1 in 400. Obviously, this doesn't guarantee a good primal or even any primal at all in 1 hour, but on average, it will be that number. So if you do like a long farming session, let's say over a few days or something, you will see that you're probably gonna get roughly this number. Obviously, when you're doing these super fast runs, you can also easily empower them. So you get 5 gem ups every 2 minutes or something like that. So you can easily stack up some more augments if you need those, or at least get some of them like kind of close to proceed on a higher level later. And you also get a lot of these embers. If you say something like once every 5 runs, then this means that with 30 runs an hour, you get around 6 embers an hour. Depending on how many classes and builds you're trying to play, I would also recommend to make some mules for some of these shards. So for example, here I have like some mule for anguish shards alone, and I have another mule that is full of terror shards and these kind of things. Because at some point you might decide you want to play another build and you might have to craft a new shard, or maybe you just need some augments. So it's good to have them ready, lying around. So once you have stacked up those embers, that you can just, go in and use them. Now finally, which builds do you actually want to play for this to go that fast? I guess the answer is obvious. For monks at least, it's going to be the water allies. So this is a clip here from like a few hours into the season start. This was 10 hours in. I was Paragon 800. So I was like speed farming these like 100s, 105s here. This is basically how I get up very quickly in the season. And you see here I was already doing like 1.5 minute speed runs at that level, which is obviously very good and also still decent XP, especially at this Paragon. Usually you switch to fire allies later, but it can go a bit faster with water allies. And this was not even the right setup. I was running for Daibo here, no Ingeo, no Echoing Fury, these kind of things. So this can obviously be optimized a lot. And if you go down, let's say 5 or 10 tiers to like 95, even at Paragon 800, you would obliterate and probably do like around 1 minute runs. Other classes don't have it that easy and they have to go a bit lower tiers, so you get even less XP, but the loot is basically the same. Here's my Crusader that I just made like 2 minutes before this. That's literally the first run, and I just opened the GR90 after I've gotten together all my like Fist of the Heavens gear, which is kind of like a super fast build you can play on the Crusader, for example. And you see I was just annihilating this GR90 here, and then we cleared it in like 75 seconds or something. I actually got a rank with this run. So this was like literally the first run here. And this was still mega scuffed setup, no orcs, everything non-ancient and stuff like that. So this will be a build to play here on the Crusader, and you can go really fast with that. So the core idea of this type of farming is that you go extremely fast. You just go in with lots of movement speed, blast down everything. You basically one-shot every single pack and move as fast as possible with rather high AoE damage. And then you have just enough to actually kill a boss in like not more than 3 seconds or so. So on the Barbarian, I would suggest something like Whirlwind or maybe Frenzy would probably be the 2 best there. Crusader, I've just shown, Fist of the Heavens. Demon Hunter, you have Gaudy Age, it's actually quite good. You have the Monk with the Inner. Necromancer, I guess the best one would be Solo Red Necro. So you want to stack a lot of cooldown reduction, permanent that, just run around. Make sure they go at the level where your mages are one-shotting stuff. Witch Doctor doesn't have it that easy, but with the Shukrani changes this season, might be a bit better. I guess the best shot here would be Mundunigu. Even though it's not a really like suitable set for speed farming, you can definitely do GR90 with that. And maybe you can also try Eric here. And on the Wizard, I guess the best shot is Typhon with an Adder Walker. So you also give up a lot of damage there, but you can teleport around everywhere, put Hydras, and they blast. So these are the builds I would suggest for all the different classes, and then it also comes down a little bit to your like map knowledge, like not running into dead ends and deciding like where to go. But since you're going so fast, it also doesn't matter too much. You lose like a second or two from going in the wrong direction, and you turn around and that's it because you're so fast. So these are some of the tips I can give you for Hellforge Ember farming or item farming in general, primal farming, whatever you want to do. If you want to gear up a class really fast, for example here with my Crusader, I'm doing exactly that. I will probably not even go to a higher tier, even if I could. I'm just gonna blast GR90 all day, every day, until I have the gear to do 150, and this probably won't even take that long. I expect that in maybe 10 hours of grinding, I'll probably have some kind of decent gear to do this, and yeah, we'll see. And that concludes this video here. I have a link to all the mentioned builds in the description, so go check them out if you like. Wish you good luck with your loot, good luck in season 25. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.